Hey everybody. In the past few videos, we looked at some of the connections between 9/11, the movie Back to the Future, and the warning about a coming meteorite impact. I've made this list here to make it easier to see some of these connections, and I'll go over this later. But first, I want to show you how this connects to a television series that just released this past year back in May. The series is called Wayward Pines, and I watched the whole first season of this, and I can tell you there's a lot of the same symbolism used in this show that is also in Back to the Future. First of all, notice the title of the show is Wayward Pines, and the critics keep comparing this show to the 1990s series Twin Peaks. I'm not sure why that is, but Wayward Pines was created by Chad Hodge, and Twin Peaks was a David Lynch production. So I'm not sure if there's another connection between these two shows, but the obvious connection for us is the movie Back to the Future, which shows the Twin Pines Mall at 9/11 changing into the Lone Pine Mall at 133. Obviously, the Twin Pines can be a reference to both the series Twin Peaks and the series Wayward Pines, which just released this year. But the most obvious reference for me that Wayward Pines is an intentional connection to the Back to the Future movie is that not only did the series Wayward Pines first air in the Back to the Future year 2015, but in the very first episode of Wayward Pines, they mention the Back to the Future date, October 21st.
October 21st, 1999. October 21st, 1999.
Okay, so as we discussed in the previous video, the October 21st date in Back to the Future appears to refer to the Orionid meteor shower. And as I continued to watch Wayward Pines, I found more of the same connections found in Back to the Future. 9/11 is on the license plate when the sheriff is murdered. 1988 is mentioned again. Plot 33 and Cell 33 are mentioned 2 different times. But the thing I found most interesting is this house address 3340. We know the 33 on one level is a reference to the Leonid meteor shower because the Leonids occur in cycles of 33 years. We also know the Leonids are alluded to again and again, both in the Elenin synchronicities, the movie Deep Impact, and in Back to the Future with the 133 at the Lone Pine Mall. But in the television series Wayward Pines, we're given both the numbers 33 and 40, which is an even closer indication that it refers to the Leonids because there are exactly 40 days between the Draconid meteor shower and the Leonid meteor shower. We've been talking about that since 2011 because it may represent the 40 days of rain that are mentioned in the Bible. So in the story of Noah and the flood, we're told that when the flood came, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. The flood story in the Bible parallels the story of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. In Matthew 24, we're told the last days will be like both Noah's flood and Sodom and Gomorrah. In the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, we're told the twin cities were destroyed by fire and brimstone that fell from heaven. But notice the word rain is used. We're told it rained fire and brimstone. So in the story of the destruction of Sodom, we're told the rain represents fire and brimstone from heaven. In Luke 17, we're told this is what will occur in the future when the Son of Man is revealed. Fire and brimstone will rain from heaven. In Matthew 24, we're told the Son of Man will appear after the 1260-year tribulation, and that is when the stars will fall from heaven. It's clear that the stars falling represents a meteorite impact in Revelation 8 and 9, Daniel 2 and 7, and Revelation 16, where we're told the fall of Babylon will be caused by an angel throwing a great millstone into the sea. Babylon, we're told, is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where the 2 witnesses will lie unburied. And Jeremiah tells us this covers the whole earth. The 7 mountains then are the 7 continents. So this is the great city Babylon in pink here. We've talked about this in other videos. We're told the meteorite will hit the Sea of Babylon, in other words, the Sea of Sodom. In other words, this is where the rain of fire and brimstone will rain down. The rain of fire and brimstone is parallel to the Great Flood also because in Daniel 9, we're told the desolation will be by a flood in the midst of the 7-year period, which we appear to be in now. In the Bible, the flood occurs on the 17th day of the 2nd month, which on the true ancient calendar occurred in June in the northern hemisphere. But in the southern hemisphere, the true 17th day of the 2nd month occurs on the window of November 27th through the 29th in 2015. That's Thanksgiving weekend. As we discussed before, Daniel 9 indicates the desolation by a flood will cause the thanksgiving and gift to cease. So again, I'm not saying it will occur this year, but the 40 days of rain between the Draconids and the Leonids are more significant in 2015 for several reasons. First, because the final year of Daniel's week appears to be ending at the Draconid meteor shower in October 2016. Not because of the Draconid meteor shower, but because of the peace treaty that was confirmed in 2009 after the 62nd Shabua. That just happened to occur on the Draconid meteor shower that year, which I really don't think was a coincidence, because in the middle of that week, the sign of Revelation 12 occurred in 2012, and the Draconid meteor shower was part of that sign. So the Draconid meteor shower was referenced in conjunction with that sign that occurred in 2012 for some reason, and there is an exact 40-day period between the Draconid meteor shower and the Leonid meteor shower. So this is Earth Sky website, and they list all the meteor showers throughout the year. I already looked through this. You can pause to count if you want, but there's no other 40-day window between any meteor showers throughout the year, except there's sort of a 40-day window between what they say is the peak of the South Taurids until the Geminids, but the Taurid meteor shower begins at the same time as the Orionids in October and lasts until December. So really, there's only one significant 40-day period, and it's very precise. It's 40 days of rain that starts on the Draconids and ends at the Leonids. And this may be the real reason that both the Bible and the media warning highlight both the Draconids and the Leonids. Maybe it's the 40 days of rain. So this reference in the television series Wayward Pines to 3340 may be a reference to the 33-year cycle of the Leonids and the 40 days of rain that end at the Leonids. Also, in this scene, notice the lady is pointing up to where the clock is, and the clock is at 11:09, which relates to the November 9 pattern. And November 9th is within that 40-day window. Again, I'm not saying it's this year, but the 40 days of rain in 2016 will occur after the first 7 years of Daniel end, and in 2015, it will occur within the 7 years. I want to point this out, though. The window lasts until 2021 because the word Shabua can also mean +7. And that means we have another 7-year period that may start in 2017 when Obama is cut off. So maybe this does refer to the 40 days of rain in 2016. I don't know. But I do think this time period between the Draconids and the Leonids is a very high watch until the year 2021. And in 2015 and 2016, it's compounded by the end of both a 70-year period of serving Babylon and a 1260-year period of Vatican rule. And both of those time periods are very specific and must occur if the fall of Babylon is really about to happen. Okay, so now back to this media warning or whatever it is. I'm just going to go through this. You can pause to read it if you want. The exact date the Titanic wreckage was discovered in the Atlantic was cited in the movie Back to the Future. The date the Twin Towers fell was also cited in Back to the Future more than a decade prior, and on the exact 10-year anniversary of 9/11, the comet Elenin and asteroid YU-55 both reached perihelion, their closest point to the sun. Not only that, but they were also in perfect alignment with each other on that same date, the exact 10-year anniversary of 9/11 on 9/11/11. Comet Elenin came from the constellation Leo and was discovered by Leonid Elenin. A Leonid is literally a meteor in November. ELE stood for Extinction Level Event in the movie Deep Impact, and NIN can stand for Near Impact November, possibly. Elenin can also stand for 11/9. In other words, November 9th, which was the date YU-55 crossed Earth's orbit. In 2011, Elenin was in alignment with the Earth and Sun on the standard Feast of Trumpets and reached its closest point to the Earth on the Feast of Tabernacles. In 1985, the space shuttle Atlantis was launched during the Draconid meteor shower, and in 2012, 2012, the Draconid meteor shower was part of the sign described in 2012 that won't occur for another 500 years. Also, I don't have it on here, but the peace covenant that started the 7-year period that we're in now actually began when Obama was awarded the Peace Prize, which also occurred during the Draconid meteor shower. Also notice Elenin reached its closest point to the Earth on October 16th, 2011, which was the exact date a year later that the sign of Revelation 12 occurred. October 21st, 2015 was the date cited in Back to the Future and is the Orionid meteor shower. November 3rd, 2015 marks the 1-year anniversary from the opening of the One World Trade Center, and that's the same date the Back to the Future US tour begins. Now we'll look at the November 9th synchronicities. There's several synchronicities pointing to November 9th, and I'm not sure why. Notice Bush declared November 9th World Freedom Day in 2001 after the 9/11 tragedy. That was 11/9/01. On 11/9/11, exactly 10 years later, the asteroid YU-55 crossed Earth's orbit at exactly midnight, exactly 40 days after the Elenin alignment. The asteroid YU-55 was roughly the same size as the Twin Towers. Also, on November 9th, 2011, they held the first ever test of the emergency alert system, and UNESCO held Exercise Pacific Wave on that same date. On the exact window from November 9th through the 11th, 2011, the planet Saturn crossed the line representing Virgo's birth canal, which was very significant because that represented the entry of Saturn into its position waiting to devour, which was 1 year before the actual sign of Revelation 12 occurred, and it won't occur for another 500 years. That exact same window from November 9th through the 11th was when the Mayflower first spotted land and docked in America in the year 1620. That was an Atlantic ship, and it ties into the Titanic. November 11th is the birthday of the lead actor in the movie Titanic, and his name is Leo. November 12th is another date cited in the movie Back to the Future and is the peak of the Taurid meteor shower. The Leonid meteor shower, which occurs on November 17th and 18th in 2015, seems to represent both the end of the 40 days of rain from the Draconid meteor shower, but also the 33-year cycle. For this reason, the Leonid meteor shower may be the reference in Back to the Future of the 133 next to the lone pine. What's interesting is the lone pine clearly represents the One World Trade Center, which will reach its 1-year anniversary on November 3rd, 2015. The Back to the Future tour begins on that exact 1-year anniversary, November 3rd, 2015, and lasts until November 24th, which is 9/24 on the Roman calendar. The Leonids, the number 33 reference, falls in the middle of that. November 22nd is another date in the movie Back to the Future and was also the final alignment of the comet Elenin in 2011, exactly 40 days after the standard Feast of Tabernacles that year. In addition, the comet Ison traveled through Draco, the dragon constellation, on the exact true feast of Hanukkah in 2013, entering on the very first day and exiting on the 7th, and on January 14th, 2014, the constellation Virgo gave birth to the asteroid YU-55. I tried to clarify how all of these things correlate to each other as best I can, but feel free to pause this video to look at any of these. I personally don't believe these things are coincidences. I think it's part of a larger warning for anyone willing to see the connections. All of these events seem to be pointing to the meteor showers in October and November, which may also represent the 40 days of rain in the Bible, the rain of fire and brimstone. This year, it will end the week before Thanksgiving, and the true date of Noah's flood in the southern hemisphere will occur Thanksgiving weekend. So again, I don't know what will or won't happen, but if this is pointing to the apocalyptic meteorite, then it's also pointing to the rescue. So this isn't fear-mongering at all, because we know the rescue happens at the exact moment the meteorite hits. So I added a few more points to this page right here, which show the connections between Atlantis, the Titanic, the moon of Saturn, the space shuttle Atlantis, Back to the Future, Deep Impact, and Armageddon. And this page shows how some of this connects to the movies Back to the Future and The Wall and the television series Wayward Pines that just released this year. The interesting thing about the television series Wayward Pines is that it's about a town of people that were abducted in the present and kept in hibernation pods and then awakened 2,000 years in the future, where humans have devolved into mutants and all the cities are destroyed by a disaster that is not explained. So as I said before, it mentions the date October 21st in the very first episode and the number 3340 in the second episode, and both of those references seem to refer to the meteor showers in October and November. Also notice the wall in Wayward Pines connects back to this movie The Wall, which released during the Draconid meteor shower this year. I don't know what all this means in its entirety, but it seems to have at least some connection to an apocalyptic event of some kind. So this is just an idea, but maybe the apocalypse already happened and we're all asleep in the hibernation pods right now. However, if that's the case, it seems like the computer simulation is severely flawed because some people are going through a really bad nightmare. And there's another thing I keep forgetting to show you. It's this shot of the scene in Back to the Future when Marty turns on the television and watches several channels at the same time. Notice the face in the lower left corner. It definitely doesn't look human, and I'm not sure what it's supposed to represent, but I think it may tie into the locusts mentioned in the Bible. So we're told in the Bible the locusts will come out after the asteroid hits in Revelation 9, and that ties into Joel 2. The locusts seem to represent people that are not human, which do not appear until the asteroid hits. But we know from examining these texts closely that it tells us these non-humans are already here before the asteroid hits and interacting with people, but they're using a technology that makes them appear human. The interesting thing is this technology is depicted in many film and television shows, but some of these shows use locusts or crickets to symbolize these non-humans. For example, in the movie Enemy, the lead character discovers a movie star who looks identical to him, which in my opinion is a reference to the image technology. But in one scene, he dreams of a woman walking toward him who looks like a model, but as she gets closer, you can see she has the face of a locust. And I don't think this is a coincidence because in the Bible, we're told they use the image technology to make themselves appear beautiful. Also, in the television series Wayward Pines, the first thing the lead character is told about this little town with the giant wall surrounding it is there are no crickets in Wayward Pines. I believe this is part of a code that is found within different movies. This is something you'd have to understand on a deeper level because the show gives an out option by showing a tiny speaker in the bushes which projects cricket sound, so that pretty much seems to resolve it. But on a deeper level, I believe this is a reference to the locusts, the non-humans described in the Bible who invade Earth and use the image technology. And that may be what this is here in this scene from Back to the Future, one of the non-humans without its cloak. But these synchronicities are clearly not coincidence, but they are very bizarre. And one of the explanations for all these synchronicities could be that we're living in a computer simulation. Many scientists say there is actually evidence that we are living in a simulation. So if we're asleep in the future and experiencing the past as though it's the present in a dreamlike state, that would explain how some of us dream about things before they happen. Maybe we're actually dreaming of past events within a dream of the past. If we are dreaming right now, then it's clear that for some of us, the dream is a nightmare, and I don't think that's something God would do. So in that sense, maybe when the Bible says that Satan is the ruler of this world, maybe it means the Satanists are running the software of this simulation. And the question of whether or not we're living in a computer simulation seems to really be heightening in the past couple of years. A lot of people have been coming out just in the past year saying things that they knew were one way before have changed. Some people are calling it the Mandela effect. And it's very subjective. I've had a lot of very bizarre personal experiences that I can't prove to anyone, but just things in my life that I know weren't that way before and they changed. So even though there's a lot of disinformation about this phenomenon, and there's a lot of people out there trying to make it seem like it's just a memory thing, it's really not. There really is something else going on here, and I think the people that are starting to wake up are recognizing these anomalies. So the Mandela effect also could be explained by a computer simulation, or us sleeping somewhere and sharing the same dream, or something like that. And it would also explain some of the more bizarre experiences that people have had. So that's pretty much it. If you want more information, there are links below this video on YouTube, and the playlist Bible's Countdown to the Asteroid is also linked here. And thanks so much to everyone who makes this work possible. I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you next week.